Good afternoon on this Friday afternoon. Yeah, we're going to go over some app design, and there's a number of different ways to design apps. There's some programs out there to be able to do it, some free programs, some ones that cost money. There's definitely varying levels. Today, I'm going to go over something called App Lab. It's from Codeorg, and I don't know if anybody of you have used it before. If anybody has, let me know if you've used App Lab before. Okay, so Mark has. And so we'll kind of go over some basics with this. This is a nice program because it is free. It's pretty user-friendly, and it still has some good capabilities to be able to create some things. So for this, you will need a code.org login. So it's free to create an account with them, but I'm putting in the chat here. We're going to go to studio.code.org, and I'm going to share my screen. Actually, let me stop sharing that so I can share it with sound in case we do some stuff with sound. So we're going to go to studio.code.org, and if you do have a code.org login, go and put that in. If not, up here in the top right, you'll have an option to sign in, and so go ahead and do that. Once you're here, there's a few different ways that we can get to App Lab. If you scroll down to the bottom of the screen here, there is a link here to App Lab. Another thing you can do is at the top of the screen, if we go to projects, click on projects there, or if you've logged in under where your name is, there's a drop-down menu and it says My Projects. And so I'm going to click on this, and what it's going to do, it's going to take me to the projects page. So it's studio.code.org/projects. And this is where any of your projects will be saved. So if you have App Lab projects or things from other code.org programs, this is where they will be saved. And we're going to go to App Lab. And so I'm just going to click on this. It's going to open up a new App Lab project. And once it loads, let me just orient you to App Lab. All right, so here we go. So this is our project page. And you'll notice here over on the left, it looks like kind of a phone screen, right? So this is going to be the app itself. So you'll be able to see on the screen here, just like if it were on a phone, what your app is going to be. In the middle, this is our toolbox. This is where we have all of the different controls. We're going to be using blocks right now to drag and drop different things into our code so that we can create our app. And here on the right, this is our workspace. This is where we're going to be making the code. So let's name this project to start with. So I'm just going to click on rename, and it just is untitled project right now. And I'm going to just call this, I'm just going to call this color change, something like that. Okay. And so we'll do a little app here just to understand some of the controls that are in App Lab.
Hey, Kevin.
So, yeah.
I'm not sure how everyone else is, but I'm brand new to this program. So I know we went to the website, but I'm still creating an account because it's a brand new program. How did you get there once you created an account?
Yep. So once you've got your account, if under where your name is, so like here, my name is Kevin, click on My Projects, and it'll take you to the projects page. So studio.code.org/projects. And that'll bring you to this page, and you'll see App Lab here, along with some of the other things that you can create projects in.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry if let me know if anybody else is still making their account. Just holler. Okay. All right. So in App Lab, let me just open up, and your projects, they'll be saved here in your projects page. And so this is the one I just opened, I believe. So I'll open it back up, and I don't think I saved my rename on it, but I'll rename it. I'm going to call it color change and save. All right, so now that's going to be the title of my app here. And so in our in App Lab here, there are a few different things we're in. Right now we're in the coding section. You can see that by the little tab here on the top left. Let's go to the design section right now. And so the design section allows us to create different elements on our screen here. And so let's start out with something very simple. So let's put a label here. So I'm going to just grab from here and drag it and drop it onto the screen. And it's just a text box here. So I'm going to have some text here. And when you do that, each of these elements, you'll be able to see the properties on it here in the on the right here. So there's the label for it, the ID for it, whatever, if it's text, the text that's there. You can look at position, change color on it, font, all these different things that we can change on our element here. For this, let's just, I'm going to change the text in here. And so you can do that by coming over to the text box here. And I'm going to put something on here that says maybe change the color of the screen. And with the text box, I can move it around. I can drag it around on the screen. I can grab the corner of it to change the size of it. So let's make the size of this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to change the font size. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger on the screen. There we go. And
Hey,
I'm going
Kevin.
to make it. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to bug you again. I just know since the first 10 minutes of the training is the most important part, right? So I finally created my account and I came to the app as you directed. How did you get to this purple screen?
Yeah.
Like,
so you're in App Lab, right?
Okay,
You have something here. So you're probably with it looking like this, where it has
that's right.
The code section. So let's go to the design section. It's on the top left there, that button to give you the design section. So the design section is one where you get to put all of the different pieces that you want onto the screen of your app. So I just put a label there. So I grabbed a label over it. If you have something there, you can always, if you want to get rid of it, you can just grab it and drag it back to the menu here, and that'll delete it. Also, what you can do is if you have something that you don't want, over here in the properties section, there's the duplicate or the delete button that you can use to delete it. So right now I've selected this one, which is my label. It has an ID label 1. I'm going to change this. Instead of the ID label 1, I'm going to call it, let's just call it title. Okay. And I changed the text. I made it a little bit bigger, and I'm going to align it so that it's center on the screen. And there we go. We've got our text there. But let's create a couple buttons also. So I'm going to grab a button here, one in the bottom on this side. I'm going to grab another button and put it down here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create an app that we can press a button and it'll change the color of the screen. Okay. And so each of these different buttons, if I click on the button, I'll see the properties of it. And let's change the color of this button right here to start with. Let's make this one be the background color. Instead of this kind of, I don't know, orangish, goldish color, let's make it red. And so if you know the RGB value of it, you can do that. You can put in the hex value for colors. You can also, if you click on the box next to it, it'll give you a slider that you can choose different colors that way. Or for some colors, you can just type the name in here. So I'm just going to type red in there, and we'll see that it changes it to red. This other button, let's change that one to, let's try blue. Okay. And there we go. So now I've got a red button and a blue button. And let's change the text on this red one. So I scroll up here. And I'm going to change the ID. So the ID is kind of important. It's nice to make it something that you would know what it's referring to. So when you're coding for all these different elements, I sometimes rename these IDs so that you're able to know which one you're talking about. So in case I get confused of which is button 1, button 2, I'm just going to call this, I'll say, I'll call this one the left button. And the text on it, I'm just going to type in red. Okay. And let's change the size of this. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to grab the corner of it, make it a little bit bigger. And for the blue button, let's do similar types of things. So I'm going to call this the right button. And you can name them whatever you want. If you want to call it the blue button or the red button, you can do that. And the text, I'm going to just say blue. And let's make this one a little bit bigger as well. And if you kind of don't remember what the ID of something is, if you bring your cursor over on the screen, you'll notice it shows where on the screen it is, so the XY value of it, and it also has the ID of what you're hovering over. So right now I'm just over the screen. If I come up here, you see I'm over at the title, which is that text box. If I come down here, I'm over the left button, and here it's over the right button. And so that's if you just need to know what those things are called. That'll help you to figure out what they are. You just put your cursor over them to see that. And so now we've got the different elements here that we need for our program to be able to change the color of the screen. So let's go to coding now. So if we go to the code menu, so click on the top left, the code button. Now we are coming to our workspace for our code. And there are a lot of different buttons that we have here. And when we're coding, we can code with these buttons. We can also switch back and forth, and I'll show this a little bit later, but with this show text button on the top right, so we're going to be coding in JavaScript. And so we can use these buttons, but we can also show the JavaScript text by clicking on that, and we can toggle back and forth. And sometimes it's really helpful to use the text instead of the buttons, and I'll show you a little bit later why. But there are different menus here. So there's the user interface controls, there's data, control, variables, and so on, all these different things. Let's go to the user interface controls, and let's look at how we can modify some of the different elements on the screen of our app using these blocks here. So one block that's really helpful is if we scroll down a little bit, this one that says set property. So set property, I'm just going to drag it over here. This one allows you to change like all of those different properties that we had changed at the very beginning. So when we're in the design phase, we can change these different properties and get them set up on the screen. And that's kind of like our starting, how we're starting our app. But through code, we can change any of those properties. So for example, if I want to change my blue button here, let's say I want to change, and the first drop down here is which element do you want to change? So I can change text, the text box, which is my title one, the left button, the right button, or screen one, which is kind of just the whole screen that's there. And so if I want to change the blue button, it's the right one. So I'll click on right button, and let's change the background color on it. So I can change the background color, and in this case, let's make it be green. Okay. So if I want to check that out, I would just click run, and you see that it changes the background to green. And so, okay, so let's say if I'm doing it green, then I don't want it to say blue, I want it to say green. So let's do another set property block. I'll just drag it under there. We're going to do the right button again. Let's change the text now. And the next box will, instead of it saying text, we'll want it to say green. And so I come back over to my app and click reset and run. And there we go. It changes it to green background and the green text that's there. So anytime I click reset, it's just going to take it back to the original beginning before any of this code takes effect. And so how it was originally was with the blue background and the word blue on it. So that's how I can use set properties, for example, to change something like that. But let's try and make these buttons do something, okay? So I'm gonna get rid of these set properties for right now. And let's go to, oops, we got the other one. Let's go to this one at the very top of the user interface controls. It's called on event. And we'll put that in here. And so on event is one that if we do something to our app, we want that event, that action to trigger something else to happen. So let's go to on event and we'll do the left button. So this is reading that when I press the left button, when we click it, then we want something to happen. And so the thing that we want to happen is, let's do what it says here, right? Change the color of the screen. So let's change the color of the screen. So if we go down to the set properties block, we'll put that inside and we'll change the screen, in this case, screen 1. And we'll change the second drop down. We'll change the background color and we'll change it to red, right? So now let's go and test it out. So if I click run, it's running this program, but I haven't done that event yet. The event is when the left button is clicked. So if I click the left button, it changes the screen red. There we go. And so let's do the same thing, but the blue button, that if we press that, it'll change the screen blue, okay? And so we could go and do all of those same things. So we can grab this. Another thing for stuff, if you want to copy and paste, this is when showing text is sometimes helpful. So if I go and click on the show text block, if I click on it again, I'll go back to the buttons that were there. But if I do show text, it'll show me this, the text here. And so we can just copy and paste this. So if I do copy and paste, then I've got this, but I want to change some of these things here. So instead of the left button, I want it to be the right button. And I wanted to change it to blue instead of red. Oops. There we go. And so now let's reset. Let's run our program. And so if I go to red, it still does the red button. If I press the blue button, now it changes the screen blue. And so there you go. We've got a functioning app right here that's able to change the color of the screen by just clicking on these buttons. But when I do that, let's just look at it and see that, you know, when it's red, that black shows up okay, the text on there. When I do the blue, that kind of doesn't look so nice, right? So maybe what we need to do is also change the font color of the of this text box. So let's go and change our code a little bit to be able to do that. So if I come over here, I'm going to do it back in blocks. So this is when I'm clicking the right button, when I'm clicking this blue button. And so I'm going to go down in the user interface control toolbox and grab the set properties block again. And let's put that, make sure we get it inside the on event block there. And so in this case, we want to go to the title block there. And we're going to change the text color on it. And so let's change that to white. Okay. Let's run our code and we'll test out with the blue. And there we go. So it changes the screen blue and then changes the text white at the same time. So this is a pretty simple program. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes. What I want you to try and do is go ahead and add another block there. So put another button in with some different color and try and see about being able to change it to another color as well. So you can add a third, maybe even a fourth button if you want to change the screen to a different color. So just remember, for adding the buttons, you'll have to go to the design toolbox to be able to add a button. But then you can go back to the coding toolbox to be able to create your code. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to do that. And if there are any questions, please feel free to shout out. While that's happening, if there are any people who came in as I was explaining, we are working, creating apps today in App Lab, which is a Code.org program. So we're going to go, if you have a Code.org account already, go and log into it. So where you can go is studio.code.org. Let me put this in the chat again. You'll be able to log in, and then we'll go to App Lab from there. Okay. If anybody needs any help getting caught up, just holler. I can go over some stuff. But while folks are adding their third button, I'll do it online. I'll do it on my screen as well, so people can see if they need to. And one thing, just for kind of keeping your code kind of clean, one thing you might want to do is get your things set up in the design section. So changing the properties however you want, so that it gets to where you want to start with on your screen already. You could, if you wanted to, just put a button in there, not have anything specific about it, and you can change things in the code here. So for example, with my third button here, I didn't change the color on it. I didn't change the name or anything like that. And I can do that in my code when I run the program. So I could do things by setting the properties. I'll just put it here at the top of this button. In the code instead of doing it in the setup in the design section.
I just wanted to say that I noticed that I changed the name of the red and blue buttons after I made my third and fourth, and it doesn't update it in the code. So you have to go and update it after the fact, if you rename something.
Yes. Another thing that could save you a little bit of time is if you are in the design section and say, I click on the blue button, or the right button, and I already have it kind of set how I want, like the size and stuff like that. If I just go over to duplicate here, then I can create another one of those, and it might make it a little bit easier for me to change just a few things instead of changing the size and all this other stuff with it. So that's another thing. So if you duplicate something that's similar to what you want, that can save a little bit of effort. But I'm going to change this button in my code, some of the things, instead of doing it in the design, so you can see them in the code here. All right. So let me know if folks are at a good spot. Give me a thumbs up if you've got your third or even fourth button on there. All right, I see a few thumbs up. All right, so now that we have our app here, it's nice to have this little thing here on our computer and stuff, but apps are really made for phones and devices like that. So let's figure out how we can share it, right? So if we click on the share button, there's a couple different ways that we can share it. We can actually send it to our phones. So if you click on the send to phone, it's going to ask you for a phone number, and it'll send you a text with the link to this app so that you can do it on your phone. So here, I'm going to get to know my number. I'm going to send a text to myself here with mine, with my program. Let's let this, give it a sec to show up. There we go. And so now on my phone, I've got my app on there that I can test it out on there. You can also publish it. So to publish means that it's gonna publish it on the Code.org, this studio, their website, so that anybody would be able to see it. You can also, do it on some social media sites. So that's a way that you can share your app. And so let me stop sharing the screen here. And so now on my phone, I've got my app that I can change. Oops, it's not showing on screen there. There we go. So I can change it pink or red or blue there on the screen here on my phone. So that's how you would be able to share your app once you've created it. All right, so there we've made our first app. It's a very simple app, but any questions or comments from folks so far about that?
I
This
think
is
the
cool.
kids would really love this. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, that ability to be able to, have it on your phone then is, that's what you think about when you think about creating an app, right? Be able to have it like that. So that's a great thing. It's pretty simple, pretty easy user interface for it. But let's create something. Let's add some more stuff.
I had a quick question for you.
Go ahead.
Is this very similar to Adobe Creative Cloud?
I'm not sure, actually. I haven't used that.
Okay. Okay.
There are lots of other app, editors and creators out there. And I'm not sure. This is the one that I'm most familiar with.
Okay, that's awesome.
My guess is it's probably pretty similar.
Yeah, I've used Creative Cloud a little bit because we have a group here with UNM Taos that that's their preferred, and I just don't know. I'm not that versed at it at all, but I was just wondering what the differences were. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I could look into that, and in two of I could have some more information on that.
Yeah,
but yeah,
well, that's fine.
UNM is an Adobe campus, right? Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we have a branch campus here in town. So
yeah.
And they do have a pretty extensive digital media, even in our high school.
Okay.
They run dual credit classes in our high school. So I was just trying to marry these things. Code.org is also something that we use in the computer science program. So I'm just trying to figure out how do we marry all of this together with our kids.
Yeah, and I know in the Codeorg, if anybody is using the Codeorg curriculum, I believe it's in the high school curriculum. There are some sections in the curriculum that use the App Lab.
Okay.
For part of the curriculum. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's super easy to use. I'm pretty impressed with this.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
And there's quite a bit of. Today I'm just going to go over some really basic stuff, but you can create some really pretty pretty advanced apps, that can do a lot of different stuff. There's a lot of possibilities with it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Let's add a little bit more to this app. We're able to make it so that we can change the color of the background. You can also think about doing some other stuff. Maybe like when you click one of the buttons, often in apps, it has that little sound so that, whenever you click on it, it has a clicking sound. So let's try and add a little bit of sound to our app here so that we can, make it a little more like some of those fancy apps. Okay. So to do that, it's a pretty simple addition to it. So it's going to still be on the event when you click on the button. So in this case, on event, left button click. I'm changing the screen color, but let's just add another block here that plays a sound. So if we go to, so it's scroll down on the user interface one, and there's one that says play sound. And so we're going to grab this one. Let's put it inside there. And there's different sounds that you could use. So if you click on the block here on the first window part of it, go to choose. And there's a sound library in App Lab that you could use. And let's go down to, let's use the app one. And I don't even know what all these are, but let's just choose, let's try app button 3. Let's see about that one. So let me play it. So I don't know if you can hear that, but it has that sound. Let's try this one. So you can click on the play, the little triangle there to be able to hear that. And I'll just use this one, button 5. So I'll choose that one. And so now it's in there. And I'm going to go to show text, and I'm just going to copy this. In here, you'll notice, actually, before I do that, you'll notice it plays sound, and it plays it has the address of the file. And then it has this one after it's false. And so this one could be false or true. And what this does, I believe, is when you have it on false, it'll just play it once. If you do it true, then it'll just play it over and over and over again. It'll loop it, right? Because it has it here in the toolbox. It asks what the URL is, and then it asks about loop. Do you want this sound to loop over and over again? And so if we have it true, it's going to play it and then play it again and play it again. So we're going to have it on false, so it just plays it one time. And if you don't want to even have this, you can click on the arrow here, and it'll collapse it. So you're not even considering the loop there. Let's go to show text. And I'm going to just copy this line here. Copy, and I'll put it, let's see, here. That, and I'll do one more here. Oops. Press return. There we go. So I've got it for all the events, for all the different buttons. I've added the same sound to it, and I can show it back in blocks, and you can see it's added that there. You could have done the same thing with grabbing the play sound block, but then you'd have to look up, choose the URL again. So I like to switch back and forth between the show text and the show blocks for copying and pasting. I just find that to be a little bit easier. So now let's go back to our app, and I'll reset it. Let's run it, and let's see if it gives us that satisfying clicking sound. There we go. I've got my sound for clicking on it. All right. So that is a very simple color changing app here. And let's create a new app. Okay. So to do that, we could just go up to I'm going to go up to my projects. So I go to where my name is, click on the drop-down menu and click on my project. So this project will be saved. Any changes that you make to it, it kind of saves it automatically in your project. You don't have to click save on it. But I'm gonna go to my projects. And if I scroll down here, we'll see here is my color change app that I had there. And when I don't have it published. So right now it is not published. I just have it in my projects folder. If I publish it, then it would be up on there on Code.org's project page. People from all over the world have shared their projects that you can open them up and remix them. So you can open up their app with their codes and stuff, and then you can kind of import it into your project library and make changes to it and create your own project from it. But I'm going to create a new project. So I'm going to click on App Lab again. And let's let it load. Got a new project workspace here. I'm going to rename it. And let's make this one, let's title this, I'll call it Animal Sounds. Oops. Animal Sounds, okay. Save. And for this, we're gonna go to the design toolbox. I'm gonna put let's put a label on the top. So this will be my, I'll call this the title. I'm gonna call this Animal Sound Player. Let's change the size on that, make that a little bit bigger. Let's change the size of our block here. And I'm going to center the text on it. There we go. Animal Sound Player. And I'm going to add a few, I'll do a couple buttons here. So I'll put one button there. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay, and I'll just duplicate that a couple times. All right. And so now for these, let's try and make these so that we can have different animal pictures. And when we press it, it'll play the sound for that animal. Okay. So for this first one, let's make this make it a lion. Okay. So I'm going to make the ID lion. I'll put the text, make it lion. And that's good. For the second one here, let's make it about a cow. So ID cow, name, text name cow. And this third one here, let's make it how about a monkey? All right. So I've kind of got it set up now with my different animals, but it'd be really nice if instead of just saying lion, maybe if I have a picture of a lion that's there. So what we can do is we can choose an image for these different things. So I'm going to click on my lion one. And down here, we have an option for image. And so let's choose an image. And for this, if I have a file on my computer, I can upload the file. If I if I have a link from a URL, like a web page, I can do that. Or there are some images, some icons here that, a lot of different icons that you could use for something if you wanted to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find an image from the web really quickly. So let me just open up a browser. Let's do an image search for lion. Images. And oh, this one looks pretty good here. So let's click on this and let's copy the image address. And so I'll go back to my Animal Sounds app, my lions one, choose an image, link to image, put in my, well, let's see if that works. I'm gonna have to click on, no, it's not a valid URL. So let me go back to this and click on here to get to the actual file. BBC News. And there it is. So let me copy this image address. There we go. Go back to my image here. Linked image. Submit. And there we go. So now we can see we have our lion image on there. And the white text seems to work fine on that. Depending on the image, right, you might want to change the text on it. And so let's go to our coding. I won't bother with the cow and the monkey right now, right? We can find the images of those later. But let's do some code for this. So on event, that when I click on the lion button, let's have it play a sound. So if I go down to play sound, click on here to choose a sound, and there are animal sounds. And I believe lion is one of them. Oh, maybe not. Oh, tiger is one of them. All right, maybe I'll just choose tiger for now. I know they're different, but I'll change my picture later. But there, so there we go. We have our tiger sound in there. I'll click run and click on the button. And there we go. We've got our tiger playing. I'll have to change that. So here's an example of another similar thing for an app, right? In this case, it's playing different sounds. And so I'll give you guys a few minutes now, maybe just get a little bit of practice with this. Try and find some images. You can do cow or monkey or tiger in this case, and see how to work with those boxes with playing the sounds. If you wanted to, you can even have it change something. You change the background on it. You could even have it change the text here. Maybe I'll say, here, let me edit this one really quickly. That design. Let me change this to tiger. And so now, whenever I play the sound, I'm gonna have it change the text that says the animal sound player. Instead of saying animal sound player, I'm gonna have it say that text underneath it of what animal it is. So let's see, for the code on that, I would then have set property. And for the title, I'm going to have it change the text. And the text, I want it to say tiger. So then when I run it, oh, I didn't click this. I got to change this back to tiger since I changed the title on that. Yep. Now reset, run, and there we go. So it changes that there. So if you want to upload your own sounds, I think you'd have to have a sound file for it. So for instance, here for this sound here, if I go to choose, make new sounds. And so you can either just record audio right here. Maybe you want to just speak or say something. Maybe you're going to pretend you're doing roar, or you can upload a file. So if you have a file already on your computer, you can just upload a file and then it'll bring up a dialog box to search for that file. That's all. There we go. All right. Any questions?
So what grade level would you think this is appropriate for? Like middle school or?
Well, I would say, I would think like,
middle school, high school?
are you asking like younger?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean,
I would say depending on, so these things that I'm just showing you right now, the very basics, I think you could probably do this with younger than middle school. I would guess maybe like 5th or 6th maybe in fourth. Yeah,
Okay,
I've got a fourth grader here at home, and he's done some of this stuff. So I would say probably fourth or fifth for just these very simple ones of changing,
okay.
adding some sound, having a button that makes a color change, something like that. I think that would be pretty basic enough for that age group.
Okay.
We'll definitely get into some other stuff, maybe not today completely, but there's definitely some other stuff that's more advanced that probably more middle school or high school even for doing it, especially if we're working with data or other things like that. But for this stuff, I would say upper elementary would probably be fine. And Code.org actually has, some of you have probably participated in Hour of Code before, where they have those kind of tutorials, these step-by-step things with different games and so on. They have some of those as well with App Lab. So there are some, I don't know if it's in like in their Hour of Code page and whatever, but there are some tutorials on the Code.org site for App Lab that would take you through some of these things that I'm showing you, but it takes it step by step through it, like they have with the other Code.org programs.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Welcome. So I'll give you guys a few more minutes to play around with this. You can add different animals or just different things too. And so the next thing we'll do, actually, I'll give you guys a few more minutes to work with this. We're going to work. The next thing is we're going to have multiple screens. So we'll get to that in just a second.
Kevin, can I ask a question?
Yes, definitely.
So I noticed that whenever I drag, like I put a sound in, there's a little arrow there, but it defaults to true, I think, which means that it plays on and on and on. But if you press that little arrow, then it doesn't do that. It just plays the sound clip once. What is that? Like, can you talk a little bit about that? I'm not sure. I don't really know code very well, but
Yeah. So what that is so in the let's show the text here. So in the text part here in JavaScript, when you have something here like play sound, it's expecting here in the first section what the file is, and then if you have a comma after it, you have this option of if you want it to loop or not. So that's what the second part is. So that's going to be the false or true. If true if you want it to loop, false if you don't. But if you just take this out, so you don't have to have that second part in there. So if this is just gone completely, oops, don't want to take away that, then it still works as correct code, right? Because it's expecting it to have this URL here. And then the next part of it after a comma would be the loop section. So the loop section is kind of optional for it. So in the block, it puts that there in it. So so you'll notice here in the toolbox for the play sound block, it has URL comma loop. And so that's just there so that that is an option that you have. So in the block. So when you bring that over, you can, let me show the block. You can just collapse it or not so that it takes that off or not.
Got
Does
it.
that make sense?
Yeah, I was seeing that, there's another one block called stop sound.
Mhm.
So would that just be like the long way to do it?
So stop sound, so that would be like if, so let's say you want to have something playing, and then you want something else to happen in your code. If at a specific time you want it to stop the sound, you would use this. So let's say you have something on a loop when you press one button and it's just playing, and then you have to press a different button to stop it. Then you'd use your stop sound to be able to stop that file from
Great.
continuing playing.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'll give you guys about 2 more minutes, and then we'll look at creating another app to be able to go between different screens. Okay. All right. So again, you have your program. If you wanted to share it, test it on your phone, you can click on the share button and send it to your phone, or you can publish it. So if you did publish it, then you'd have the code for it that you could send to somebody else. So if you have, for instance, like with your students, you want to give them, like, let's say maybe you want to have something like this on this screen where it has something partially done. Then you could share it, copy that URL, and send it to your students so that they would have something to start work off of. So they don't have to create everything from scratch. So that could be one way that you would work with your students around it using that share button. But let's create a new app here. So I'm going to go down to under my name, the drop-down menu. I could also go to create and click on App Lab to create a new project, but I'm just going to click on my project so we can see, just to remind you that your projects will be saved here in your My Projects. There are public projects, right? So these are the ones that if you make yours public, these are ones that other people have created. You can click on any one of them and you'll be able to open up, and you can look at their code, see how they made it work, and then you could remix it if you wanted to. So import it into your project library and be able to change things on it and save it for yourself. But let's go to App Lab again to create a new project. And so for this one, let's make this kind of a almost a choose your own adventure. Who read those books as a kid or even now, right? I love those choose your own adventure books. And so what we're going to do for this is we're going to create multiple screens. So on one screen, we might have some text or even some pictures of what's happening in the story. And then we'll have some buttons that have some options to go, one way or another with it. And when you press that, it's going to go to a different screen. And so what we're going to do is we're going to click here on it. So you'll notice here at this above the screen, like the phone screen, it has a drop-down menu. Right now, there's just screen one. That's what we start with. But if we go to the design page, Now, if we click on screen, we have an option to create new screens. Okay, so I'm gonna just go to my screen one right now, and I'm gonna change the title of it. So I'm just gonna call it, actually, I'll call it Start. Okay, and so that's where we're gonna start. I'm gonna create a new screen, and I'm gonna call this one, I'll call this one Left. And I'm gonna go and create another new screen. I'm gonna call this one Right. And so now if we go to our drop-down menu here, we can see we have a left, right, and start for our different screens that we have. So let's go to our home, to the start screen. Okay, and in this, this is the properties of this. So let's give it a different background color. That's kind of boring, the white color. Let's give it, I don't know, something like that. There, that's good. All right. And and so now let's put a little bit of text on it. Okay, so I'm going to put a label in here and say, in the text box here, I'm going to say, you are in a cave and there is a path to the right and to the left. Okay, and let's make that bigger size. And let's move this to the center. And let's make the text color, let's make it black. So it really stands out on that blue color. There we go. And if I wanted to, I could try and find some image of like a cave or something like that, that I could put on the screen here, right? So if I wanted to put an image on it, I could click on image here and I could choose an image with it. So I could go to choose, and if I have an image of it already on my computer, I can do that, or I can link to an image, or I don't know if there's some sort of icon of it that I wanted to use, I could use that. Okay, I don't have an image right now, so let's just put that up here. But let's create two buttons. Okay, one that says, oh, actually, let's add to this text just a little bit more. Which way do you want to go? So I might have to make this bigger. Which way do you want to go? There we go. All right, so now let's add two buttons. So I'm going to put one button here. You know what? And I want to make this button, I want to make it so that it's it kind of looks like a button actually on there. So what I'm going to do with this button, and I'm going to title this one Left. Okay. And I'm going to put the title on there, Left. Okay. But let's make it an icon there. So I'm going to choose an image. I'm going to go to the icons, and I'm going to go down to this one here. Ooh, there are some arrows. I could use an arrow even if I wanted to, maybe a left arrow on it. But I'm going to stick with my button. So I'm going to go with this kind of square block here. And I'm going to change it so that the, let's change the size of this, make it bigger like that. Let's put our, let's put the background color, no background color. So I'm just gonna delete that, okay? So no background color. And actually, when I make it match the background color of this. So I'm going to copy this background color, RGB of that. There we go. And click on the button here. Color. And okay, so no border on it. Okay, so there's my left button. And I'm going to create a right button. And for that, I'm just going to duplicate this. Okay. And let's move this over. And let's change the text to right. And I'll change the ID to right as well. Maybe I should write right button, so it's a little bit more clear. And left, I'll do left button. There we go. And so now I've got my my buttons here, and we want to make it so that when I click on the right button, it's going to go to the right page that's here. Okay, so we'll do that in code, and so we'll do on event. Click. Oops. Let's do click left button. And what does I want to do? I want to is it set screen. There it is at the bottom. So set screen. So we want to put it to the left screen. And then we'll do the same thing for the right button. Right, for the right button, let's go down to set screen to right screen. Okay. So now, if I run this, I click on the right button here, and it takes me, it's blank right now. And I can reset. So let's go to our right screen and left screen and put something there. So on the left screen, let's say we'll put a, let's change the background color. Let's make this one be something bad happens. We'll make it red and say, put a label on there. And we'll have the text say, oh no, you fell into a ravine. So let's make the text, we'll just make it black. Let's make that font size nice and big because something wild happened. Okay. Okay. And if we want to restart, we might want to put a button here that says restart, right? So let's add a button to it. And I'll just call this restart. You can say whatever you want to, maybe return to the beginning. Size this just a little bit. And for the code for this, let's go to on event and touch the restart. Then it will set screen to the home screen, to the start screen. There we go. Okay. So if I run this, I'm going to start at the beginning. Let's go left. Oh no, you fell into a ravine. And then I can return to the beginning. Okay. And then we code something for the if I went right as well. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to do this. You know, this is something that, you know, as we have right now, just 3 pages. We can imagine this could go in multiple directions, right? Just like a choose your own adventure, that maybe if I go to the left, that maybe something else happens and there's 2 more or even 3 more options here of something you choose from to be able to go to different pages on it. So I'm going to give you guys some time to work on this and add something for going to the right, or multiple things. You can add pictures to it. You can add the click sounds, right? When you click on these things, it could even be that maybe if there's a sound when you go to the left that is I don't know, like a wah, wah, that type of sound, or something like that that you can add to your story here that's in the app. Any questions so far or comments?
Can you add videos in, Kevin, or will it not support that?
That's a good question. I've never tried to add a video in there, so I'm not sure. I will look that up. I just looked on the Codeorg forums, and it says they don't currently have the ability to embed videos or links to videos in App Lab. So unfortunately, you can't do that.
Kevin, I have a question. I was here looking through the different options for things, and I know you use the URL. Is that the same way? Like if you were trying to say link one of those options to a web page, like to another page, like if this go here, if this go here, could you link it to pop open a site?
Let's see. I'm not sure about that. That's something I haven't tried to do either, but let's see. I don't think so.
So there is a code at the bottom of the yellow ones that says open URL.
Oh, there you go. So that could be a way to get to, for a YouTube video, you could go to it. It just wouldn't be embedded into the app. It would take you out of the app to a website.
And thanks for that. I thought I had scrolled all the way down. I guess I missed a little. I stopped at RGB and I only saw the image URL. So thanks for that.
Do you know where you would get a sprite?
So there are things called turtle. There's a turtle that you can move around. So for a sprite, actually, what you would do is you would create in the designs, you could create a button or an image or something like that that you'd be able to control to be able to move around. Because whenever you are, you can control its properties. So you can control its position, things like that. So for example, if you, let's go over here. If I had something here that I put in, or actually I could even, here, how about this? Let's put in text, but instead of text, let's put an emoji in here. And so, yeah, so like on a Mac, to open up for text, instead of typing in letters, to open up the emoji menu is Control Command Spacebar. And I could put in like a, I don't know, here, if I wanted to have like a baseball as my emoji thing. Did I put it in there? Maybe I'll just try one of those faces. I was not putting it in there. Well, in that case, let's get rid of that. You could put an image in something that you wanted to have. And let's just put in a, I think there's an icon here we can choose. Let's just do a heart. And so this, if you wanted to control it with your code, you would be able to set parameters for it that maybe if you're doing something, if you're doing one thing like pressing a button or something, it's going to change the position. So you know how you can set position here of something. So you can set position of, in this case, it's, what is that? Image 2. You would set position of image 2 to some position, and then you'd be able to change it with like a math thing. So you'd set the position to this +2 whenever you press the right button or something like that that you have. So you'd be able to use just any of these objects as a sprite. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Because I'm assuming that you're using the word sprite because you've done coding in Scratch before, and so it's just, you know, they don't use that terminology here in App Lab with it.
I usually
like
use
they do.
App Inventor.
Oh,
put it in my
okay. Like, you guys, about 2 more minutes, and then we'll do one last thing before we wrap up for today.
So Kevin, I know in other things like you were mentioning Scratch, there's a place to get to like a library of already pre-made stuff, so you can kind of look at how they coded it. Is that the case here as well?
Yeah, so for that, just share my screen really quickly. So in the projects folder, so let's just go back to my projects here. So these are my projects. These are the ones that I've created. If you go to public projects, then this has different ones. So this is all of Code.org's public projects. So you would want to scroll down, there's Poetry, Game Lab, and then App Lab here. So you can view more App Lab projects, and this will give you just a whole bunch of different ones. Like this is one I was just looking at the other day, like here's one to make Connect 4, the game Connect 4. And so for this, you would be able to just open it up and you know, just plays the game. You'd start the game. When you click on here, it puts the red or the blue on it, and you could, you know, keep playing the game. But if you wanted to view the code, just click on view the code, and it would bring you to all of the code for it. If you wanted to make some changes to it or put it into your own library, and you can see there's lots of code here for this to be able to create this Connect 4 game, you would click remix. And so when you do remix, it will bring it into your editor here, and you could make changes to it. And then when I go back to my projects, then it has, as one of my projects now, the remix of this Connect 4 that this other person has created. So then I can make changes to it how I want. All right. Well, we only have about 10 minutes left, and I think any other thing I want to do with you might take up more time than that. So we might end here, but this gives you a good basis of kind of some of the functionalities, some of the basic controls of App Lab. There's definitely a lot more that you can do with it. And, you know, in thinking about apps, there's so many different types out there. So, you know, try and think about what type of app you want to have. Do you want it to be, you know, like this choose your own adventure thing? Do you want it to be an app that is a game, like that Connect 4 one? It could be an app in which, you know, you're trying to gather information from other people. So maybe, you know, it's something where they would, you know, you're trying to provide some sort of service. And so it's an app that connects you with your clients. So there's lots of different possibilities for apps. And, you know, and if you do click through that projects library of public projects that people have shared, you can see a wide variety of things that people have done. Some very simple and some fairly complex, with a lot of coding in it. So with that, any questions or comments about App Lab? I'll just say that for the next part 2, we'll go a little more in depth into being able to use it to work with data, work with variables, different things of that nature, so we can see some more advanced apps that can be created with it. No questions? Well, thank you guys so much. Have fun creating your apps, and hopefully I'll see you next time. I need to put in the attendance link and survey, so be sure to fill that out, and I'll turn it over to Nina for anything else.